God, please give me another boom, and I promise I won't blow all the money this time.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we'll get onto the subject of whole brokerages in a second, but I do believe that they should do financial planning classes for real estate
Mm.
agents because it's really hard. You get a gigantic paycheck, like a $20,000 paycheck, and you don't think about the fact that, oh, maybe you should put 35 to 50% of that away for taxes. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Gordon, and I'm your host on Realizations. And today I'm very excited to have Wayne Einhorn with me today. He runs a company that coaches brokerages and brokers. So I thought that was an interesting insight into how real estate is moving into the future. Being that I'm at Compass, which now handles like every brokerage on the planet, I am wondering what Mr. Einhorn will have to say about all of that. Welcome, Wayne. Thank you for coming today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me as a guest, Andrea. It's a privilege.
Thank you. So, how did you get into the business of coaching brokers and brokerages?
That's a great question. I started off as a broker myself, and my brokerage career, Andrea, was very much like my sales career. It followed the same trajectory. And what that means is that I failed miserably for the first 3 years. But when you fail as a broker, it's much, much more difficult.
I bet.
And I can remember my banker, and I started as a broker when I was 27, so I was about 30 years old, young guy. And my banker came in and he put out the annual review. He puts all the papers out and he
Yeah.
looks across the table at me and he said, "You're bankrupt."
No.
I go, "What?" It's like, "The lights are still on and the people came to work today. How is that even possible?" And he explained to me
Yeah.
how it was. And so I had to figure out some things really quickly. And I never wanted anyone to have to go through that again.
Yeah. No, it's hard. I've been a realtor for 28 years at this point, and I've gone through four economic downturns. And the first one catches you with your pants down and you're just like ruined. The second one, you're like, you see it coming and you start planning for a rainy day. The third one, you've already figured out that you need a bookkeeper, a financial planner, a financial plan of varying kinds, and all the accoutrement. And the fourth one, I was just looking from the sidelines going, oh, crap. but
Yes. So that was the first one that I experienced, Andrea. And just I remember getting a fax back then. We used facsimiles from a friend of mine who was a top agent, and he faxed to many of his friends what he termed the real estate agent's prayer. I'm not sure if you've heard it, but it went, "God, please give me another boom, and I promise I won't blow all the money this time."
Yeah, exactly. I think that we'll get onto the subject of whole brokerages in a second, but I do believe that they should do financial planning classes for real estate
Mm.
agents because it's really hard. You get a gigantic paycheck, like a $20,000 paycheck, and you don't think about the fact that, oh, maybe you should put 35 to 50% of that away for taxes. Oh, you should put about, 20% of that away for savings. Oh,
Mm.
you don't really have that kind of money that you think you have coming in. And it's logical, just like we all know calories in, calories out, but it doesn't stop us from eating this more. I think that is a whole other thing that needs to be explored a little bit in our world. And I've actually proposed it. I've been on the board of directors of the association on and off for 17 years. I'm currently on my third term as a board of director for the multiple listing service. And we are implementing classes for realtors around those things. We've also implemented not just coaching, but psychological help for realtors because
It's wonderful.
I think it's really challenging. And I live in Berkeley, so I'm that way.
Mhm. No, that's wonderful. When I was a broker, Andrew, what we had a set of values that everybody had kind of agreed to work by. And one of our values, believe it or not, back then was financial responsibility.
Yeah.
And we used to teach that. And we had offices in kind of suburban areas. So they were little smaller towns. I used to say, I don't want to go into the local car dealer to lease a car. And they go, "Oh, you're one of those guys that don't pay their bills." Now our people had to be financially responsible, and that included planning for retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. And also figuring out, can you sell your business at the end of your career? I had a woman on the show the other day who her entire career is selling brokerages.
Mhm.
And of course, we had a fun chat about Compass once again buying up all the brokerages, what have you. But her job is to evaluate brokerages and see what they're worth and find fits for them when people are exiting the business. And it's a wonderful, interesting niche. And you've got a niche for yourself at this point in coaching brokerages. How did you get into that?
I didn't want anyone to have to go through what I went through. I figured out the secret sauce of being successful. Andrea and I thought, hey, if I could show other brokers the secret sauce, they wouldn't have to go through the trials and tribulations that I did. And the brokerage is a lonely business. And it's interesting. There's no school for brokerage. There's no, hey, how do you operate a profitable brokerage school? When I became a broker back in the late 80s, the National Association of Realtors used to operate a program called the CRB. I don't know if it's still operating, but there were some courses in that particular program that dealt with profitability and how to build a brokerage. But since then, I haven't seen anything. Brokers start these businesses. They're high fixed cost models.
Mhm.
They mortgage their house. They get into a monthly payment kind of deal. And that's what I mean about an agent. As an agent, I didn't really have high fixed costs. Getting out of it was a lot easier than it was as a broker. So I just don't want people to go through that again.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is the secret sauce? Can you just tell me?
Yeah, I always say if it was, and I tell people, it's Andrea, if it was simple, you'd have figured it out because you're a
Yeah.
smart person. But essentially, our secret sauce, if you will, or our system, uses what we call 7 core competencies. And really, there's 7 strategic areas of the business. And we know we have systems in each of those 7 areas. The most common one that most people have heard about in brokerage is recruiting and retention. And that's important. Those are 2 of the 7 competencies, but there's 5 others. And if we don't have prowess, if we're not good at all 7 competencies, then we're not going to have a profitable, scalable brokerage.
So what are the other five?
So it starts with leadership. Where are we going to take the brokerage and where are we going to take it and how's it going to serve our constituents? And it needs to get agents excited. Our number one purpose, we always say of a brokerage, is to have agents excited to pay the commission. And so it starts with leadership. Then once we establish that, the second one is what we call business model and profitability. It's how to create a profitable business model. In that competency, Andrew, with the ICBC 5 economic drivers, exactly how to do that. Once we've established the business model, the next competency is uniqueness, which is how you differentiate yourself. And then really how you differentiate yourself is how you generate income to support your business model. And then you go to recruiting and retention, which you're familiar with, we all are. And then financial management, which is forecasting and reporting. We have very robust forecasting tools for brokers. And then finally, mergers and acquisitions, which you were talking with Oliver the other day. We do a lot of work with her, help brokers either acquire or divest when it's time.
Interesting. Thank you. That's very interesting. Now, in terms of leadership, what are you relying on as far as are you looking at like Chip Conley wrote a book called Leap. That's a beautiful book. And it talks a lot about getting the people that are participating in whatever it is you're doing to feel ownership and to feel loyalty and to feel connection with that. And how do you do that? Is there some guidebook that you use for leadership?
Yeah, we have kind of a list in our system, if you will. We ask people, say, hey, here's what you need to communicate to agents, what agents are interested in hearing out. First thing is everybody wants to be on a winning team. Nobody wants to be on the losing team, right? And so you've got to define what winning looks like for your constituents, for your agents. The next thing is everybody wants to be looked after. They want to know. And what I mean by looked after is they want to know that when the chips are down, there's somebody there to support them. And what does that look like? What does the interim support system look like?
Yeah.
And so those are some of the things that we talk about in the leadership conference.
Very cool. Yeah, it's funny. Robert Refkin to me is a brilliant leader. When he was first recruiting me to Compass, it was hysterical. Actually, I was with a small brokerage, and my phone would ring, and it was Robert Refkin
That's right.
calling me. He decided my name was AG, not Andrea. So I'd hear, "Hey, AG, how's it going?" And I'd be like, "Oh my God, Robert, you're calling me again."
That's so cool.
He called
That's so
many,
cool.
he called many times. And for example, they just named Nita Nawab as the head of Compass. I may be mangling her last name. And I sent Robert and Nita, whom I got invited to this Women of Compass dinner, and she was there. And we actually sat next to each other. So I had a wonderful communication with her. And then Robert's mother, Ruth, came to Berkeley, and I ended up having dinner with her and Nada again, which was cool. So I sent them both a thing saying how proud I was that he had named her as president of the company, that it was so exciting to me to see a woman being ahead of a company like that. And that he was, as usual, prescient and brilliant in what he was doing. I got emails back from both of them. Okay. There are 41,000 agents that are directly involved with Compass as a company. I
Yes.
got emails back from both of them within an hour of my responding to his announcement. And both of them were heartfelt and personal. Now, I do have a personal connection with both of them, but my God, that
Yeah, that's amazing.
he does
You,
that with everyone, by the
you,
way. It's
you,
not
you know,
just me.
you know, it's interesting, Andrea, I've asked oftentimes too, what do I think of the merger, and people have all these kind of twists and turns of problems. And I said, I've never met Mr. Upton. And I said, I was at Inman last week on stage, and I said this on stage, and I'll say it again. I'm not sure if he was in the room. I doubt he was, but I'm a bit of a business geek. And so I study companies. And back around COVID, when nobody knew who Robert Refkin was and he was drowning in debt, I had done an analysis because it's publicly traded and we're on Compass. And I had a pin on the calendar the day he was going to run out of cash.
Wow.
And he did. And Pete, first thing I say about the merger, my money's on Robert Refkin.
Oh, hell yeah.
But
Oh, hell
whatever
yeah.
the guy set his mind to do, he's got to do it.
I absolutely agree with you. You know about his running all those marathons for charity when he was a young man.
Yeah, he's amazing. Amazing
He
human
really
being.
is. I, of course, got worried knowing that NATO was now taking over Compass, but they've just created Compass International Holdings. And I'm sure that what's happened is he's had to go off and run that, which is why, and NATO was his assistant, by the way. And she's built herself up through the ranks to get to the place that she's a phenomenally brilliant, soft spoken, but no nonsense person. Have no doubt that the place will run smoothly. And probably while all this was going on, she was actually running the company for the last year.
Anyway.
I'm going to guess. So in terms of all of these, I'm a top producing agent. I annually sell anywhere between 60 and 80 million. So let's just say on average around 70 million myself. And I'm an individual agent. I'm not a team. I have employees, but I don't have team members.
Wow. Congrats.
And what I would say is that I have always regarded every brokerage I've been a part of as someone who I had hired to serve me. I regard myself as having a client relationship with whatever brokerage I'm involved with. And I've been at several. I was with Coldwell Banker for a very long time. I was with Red Oak Realty for a long time, and I started out at Century 21. And in every place, there was something really good, but there was also something that made me want to leave. In 7 years of being at Compass, I've never wanted to leave. The reason I've never wanted to leave is because of what you call your core competencies in terms of these 7 things. Compass has its own set of principles, for want of a better word, and I'm sure you're familiar with them. And they speak to my heart and they speak to my idea about business. And they're very much within your core competencies too. No ego, bounce back with passion, all of these things. That's how Robert rolls. That is literally how he rolls. And for example, and he cares about literally everybody that works at the company. And I've always felt like your management needs to truly have your back. When somebody like me, I'm closing in on $1 billion in sales. And when a person like me has a problem, it's not, oh boy, did I sell the house twice? It's something serious.
Something
Yeah. And I need to have somebody who is at least as intelligent and capable as I am to answer my questions. And I think one of the biggest errors that brokerages make is having managers that are subcompetent. Your manager is a really important person. And if somebody doesn't know the business, I've been at brokerages where the manager called me and asked me questions because somebody had brought them something. And there's a part of me my heart just sinks at that point because I'm like, wow, you could not help me if you needed to.
Yes.
And that's a feeling that's really important. So I'm hoping that that's part of what you're talking about as well in terms of leadership.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talk about four constituencies, Andrea, as far as being the brokerages for customers.
Hmm.
And people think of a brokerage or the real estate industry, our customers are buyers and sellers. And of course, those are our customers. And how do we treat those folks? When your customer comes into our office, do we offer them a cold water? Do we shoot them in a great environment? Do we ask them if they need a phone? Whatever it looks like. They feel like it's home to them. But the other two constituents we never talk about are customers are our agents who are our customers and other brokers' agents who are our customers. And we have to treat those folks like they're our five-star customers because our agents obviously are the people responsible for the revenue of the brokerage. And we need repeat customers. And I would say this, Andrea, every agent will get up tomorrow morning in America and the alarm will go off and they have a decision to make. And the decision is where to buy the real estate services from today.
Hmm.
And I used to say to my people, hey, and I'd say to our customers, our clients at Inner Circle Broker Coaching, those agents need to decide on you. There has to be no consideration. You have to go,
Right.
oh my gosh, like you just said, yeah, I'm excited to come in here. I'm excited
Right.
to interact with these folks. And so on so many levels, we need competency around management, around the folks that are administrators, that are marketing, that service you, because it's no different. It's the agents today expect, and so they should, a five-star experience.
Absolutely. And at the same time, we have all these disruptors in the industry. It was funny when I first went to Compass, people were like, "Oh no, they're funded by the Saudis and this, all this other stuff." And the biggest one was, "Oh, they just want to pluck information from your brain so that they can get rid of agents." Obviously, it's ludicrous to think that agents will be gotten rid of. It's not. Carvana, for example, has not done that well branching into used car sales. You can sell a brand new car to somebody online, poking a button and picking out the color, but you can't sell a used car without somebody being able to check it out, really. Just same like a house. You can't sell a house without somebody really seeing the neighborhood, seeing if there's a car on blocks next door, seeing if the basement smells like water, seeing if there's a big issue with the next door neighbor. All of those kinds of things that are human and human centered are impossible to get rid of in real estate, which is what all these disruptors, I think, don't take into consideration. But you also have a generation coming up that does everything online. And if you look at the travel industry, I'm old enough to remember when your travel agent was the person who could tell you where to get the best beignet or croissant or whatever in France or all of that. And that level of service has gone out the window with with basically the demise of the personalized travel industry. It's there still, but only for top tier people that are spending millions of dollars on tours of varying kinds. So, question I have for you is what are you teaching brokers in how to deal with a lot of these upstarts like Purple Bricks, Zillow? What do you do?
It's interesting. If we use Zillow as an example, Andrea, I look at, it's like I mentioned this earlier, I'm a bit of a business geek, right? And so I
Mhm.
think of Zillow as and if we use that travel analogy, what Expedia was 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And 15
And
years ago,
many
I
of the
had
same people at Zillow, by the way, are Expedia people. You do know
that
that.
interesting. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Expedia's stated goal was to get rid of travel agents,
But
low hanging fruit.
yeah, I want to put out a goal for the real estate industry. So 15 years ago, I travel a lot for my business. And so 15 years ago, if I was going to book a hotel, I'd get onto Expedia or hotels.com or something like that. And those guys got between me and Hilton and Marriott, right? And then that's how I booked my hotel. And about 5 or 6 years ago, Marriott and Hilton, Marriott's out Bonvoy, they developed a customer service protocol that blew Expedia out of the water. And so now I get on my Bonvoy or my Hilton app and I can check in, pick my room, don't need a key. I wouldn't even dream of going to Expedia or booking.com or hotels or whatever to book a
Mhm.
hotel today. And so what Hilton and Marriott and all those folks did a great job of is they figured out how to get the customer back. And that's what we need to do as an industry. And my opinion, for what it's worth, is the missing link is relationships. People want relationships. Even the millennials coming up through the ranks, or they love to transact digitally, but it's still the largest transaction that they have ever made. right? And it's interesting. We could spend a whole podcast on this. I've spoken to so many millennials, Andrea, it breaks my heart because they don't even believe in real estate as an investment.
Everything is temporary now.
But I think part of it is they're in a bubble themselves. They're texting and all that stuff. And so there's no relationship with somebody that knows real estate. Because if there was, that person would say, look, the best investment in the United States, full stop, is your real estate, is your home. And it doesn't matter when you buy it. It's interesting. I have a client in Erie, Pennsylvania. God bless Erie. And Erie is the worst performing real estate market in the United States.
Wow.
And I had them do a graph of real estate prices in Erie. And guess what it looks like? Straight up. And it's, hey, I don't care what market you buy in. When's the best time to buy? Today. And that's the message, I think. You can see I'm getting all amped up now because I'm so passionate about it. But I think if we have relationships with the people, they're not clicking on it. Why do they go to Zillow if they don't have a relationship?
I hope you're right about all of that. I worry about it. I worry about us moving into the future between different regulations, what have you, coming down the pike as far as home building are concerned, as far as the economy is concerned, as far as interest rates are concerned. There's a lot to be concerned about as a realtor. And I would imagine that as a broker, your profit margins as a broker are way less than, like, people are constantly asking me to open up brokerages. By the way, my side is constantly going, oh, you should just start your own boutique firm. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? No, I don't want to have that responsibility. And it seems to me like the profit margins are small in being a broker. It seems like in order to market yourself, you're not going to be profitable for several years, really, when you look at it, because the overhead costs are so high if you're going to do brick and mortar, and particularly in our area where rents and everything are insane. So what do you advise someone who wants to start a brokerage in terms of what their profitability can be and where they should put their money?
Great question. I've been in the real estate industry a long time. It started selling. Then I worked for a regional brokerage with 15 or 1,600 agents and was a regional vice president there. Then I started my own brokerage. And oftentimes today, Andrea, people say, oh my gosh, I wish we were back in the old timers. They say, oh, I wish we were back in the 50-50 days. And I have to tell you that we make more money in brokerage today than we ever did in the 50-50 days. If you have a well-run brokerage, it's highly profitable. The idea that there's no money and it's because it's exactly like agents, right? There's probably 10 or 12% of the people making money and the other 90 or 80 or 90% are not. If somebody wanted to start, I tell them to buy it too. There are so many brokers today that need to sell that have profitable businesses. I've got people, Andrew, that would give their brokerage to the right person because they've made all their money. They're financially beyond successful. The brokerage is not a part of it. It's worth millions of dollars, but it's not a significant part of their net worth. They just want the right person to take it over.
Or the legacy thing or something.
100%, because they've got all these people, hundreds of people that they've serviced their whole lives and they got relationships with them. And hey, I don't want to, they could easily afford to say, hey, last guy, shut off the lights. I'm done. But they don't want to do that. And so there's so many opportunities for young people to get into brokerage, to experience the benefits of it. But I would say do not start from what I call greenfield startups. That's going to be a long road to success.
Very cool. Wayne, you are just lovely. It is wonderful to meet you and talk with you. And you have been a terrific font of information. I wrote down all the principles that you were talking about. I'm interested in your business and what you do. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm grateful.
Andrew, thank you.
All right. Take good care. Bye.
If you loved hearing from these incredible voices shaping real estate, you'll want to catch what's next. Click the video on screen to keep discovering more inspiring stories.